Okay, Tony Stewart has joined us. Tony is now the three-time NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion. And Tony, a lot of adjectives described what you did over the chase. One I keep hearing is clutch. Talk about just a clutch performance by you over the last 10 races.
I would have lost every bet in the world if people would have said, hey, when you got in the chase, that we were going to win a race or we were going to win 5 races and win this thing. I would have bet against us. And I learned a big lesson with our organization and, how strong a program we have and people-wise. I mean, everybody has good cars and good equipment, but, I'm sure Darian's mentioned it. It's the people you have that make the difference. And, when I said at Chicago that we didn't belong in this chase and we're taking a space that somebody else that probably was going to do a better job could have done, there were 2 things that could have happened with our group of guys, and they could have hung their head and said our guy doesn't believe in us, or they could do exactly what they did, and that's never gave up. They dug their heels in, and they fought like the Bad News Bears, man. I mean, we were the team that nobody really thought had a shot at the beginning, and the longer this went, we battled adversity at Dover and Texas, and we just kept fighting, this whole group up here. I mean, Darian's done an unbelievable job in this chase. I mean, to go and be in the situations we've been in, and tonight, for example, I mean, to go in and have to fix a damaged race car twice, go to the back and come back to the front, and then to make the call that he made at the end there that I need to take a nap right now. My nerves are absolutely shot because when he said save fuel but run his pace, and I'm like, I'm running hard to run his pace. And so he pits about 2 laps later, and I'm like, I can't, we're having a discussion. I can't run that pace and save fuel. And it's like, so you got to tell me which one's more important right now. And I'm deaf in one ear and can't hear on the other. So he said something, and I'm like, all right, whatever, I just got to go. So then he pits, and then I go into fuel conservation mode, and it's really, really hard to watch guys just come barreling past you and to stay disciplined enough to just stick to the plan. And I didn't question what the plan was or why the plan was. I just stuck to what he told me. And the lap that he called us in going into turn 1. And when I came off turn 2, I let the fuel pressure drop. The motor laid down a little bit, but was still running. And when I got to turn 3, I shut it off, coasted around to turn 4, kicked the switch, kicked the clutch, drove down pit road. We did the stop, and he's like, keep it revving, keep it running. And I'm sitting here staring at a fuel pressure gauge that's not building. It's sitting at 2 pounds. And we drop the jack, leave, we get 50 foot from the last timeline, and it dies. I mean, it's dead. It's out. And I'm like, we just lost this thing. And we roll about 100 feet, and it takes off, and the needle goes up, and life's good again. But you get on the racetrack, then the rain comes, and it's like, oh man, what just happened? What you don't even know where you're at that point. And through the pit cycle, to sit there and we're 4th at that point, and Carl has to come back in. It's like, that is the call of the race, the call of the chase, and it gave me the opportunity to do what I love doing best, letting it all hang out, put it all on the line. And on the restart, we dove her down into 3, and that was the one probably hairy moment of anything that I did all day where I felt like, I may have just lost this, and got loose underneath the 18 and the 2, and then it was a 3-wide drag race down into 3, and the way this thing drove all day, it was really good side bite, and I knew I could bury it down in the corner. I just didn't know if I was going to make the front end stick like the back, and we drive back out with the lead, and it's at that point you just sit there and go, this is all you can ask for, is where we're at right now, and whatever happens out of it happens. And the funny part was listening to Darian actually get nervous at that point. It's like the hard part was done at that point. We're where we need to be, but he goes, okay, I'm not giving you lap times anymore. I'm just going to give you intervals. And you can tell by the way he's saying that, it kind of made me laugh in the car, and that actually relaxed me more than anything for those last 30 laps. And he's just reading intervals off every lap, and we're just running hard enough to, it wasn't like we were saving much, but we saved just enough that if we had a green-white checkered, I think we'd saved our tires enough to do a good job at the end. But getting in lap traffic, he was able to gain a little bit, and we were able to fight through some of those guys and pull back out. So you never are more excited to see a white flag in your lap, white flag waving in your life. You at least take the white, and you know that if the caution comes out, it's over, and you only got to make it one more lap. And I'd love to know what my lap time was the last lap. I don't think we gave up much, but it was, it just was an awesome ending. And to get both of these guys beside me, their first championship, it is an unbelievable feeling. It's from the ownership side, it's more gratifying knowing that the investment that Gene's made in this sport and Darian's history in this sport, and to be a part of getting them their first championship. That on the ownership side for me is the gratifying part. It's cool to win 3 championships as a driver and be in the company that we're in, but if this wasn't an exciting race to watch, and if this wasn't one of the most exciting chases to watch from a fan standpoint, you got to go to a doctor immediately and get checked out. So I don't even know what else to say about it.
Okay, let's take some more questions here. Jenna, and then Dan, and then Dave.
Jennifer, AP, you were making 3 and 4 wide passes tonight that we all were kind of left with our mouths open. And then AJ said that I think Tony drove the best race of his life. Was this the best race of your life? And is it fair to say you've been driving this way for 4, 5, 6 weeks?
I think so. I mean, but as much as I'd love to beat my chest and say that I've been just doing something supernatural, I mean, I've had cars that have given me that confidence to do that. And to go 4 wide on the front stretch like that, and to have the confidence that when you get to turn 1 that you can make the corner still. I mean, that's a good handling race car that gives you that confidence. So it's like I said, we've been a potent combination because our cars have been good, and I've been feeling good. I mean, I've had confidence in these things, and you look at the first half of our year and how many just stupid things happen, luck-wise, that never happen. And we've, at the end of the day, we would battle to a respectable finish out of it, but we were disappointed because we knew there was more there, and it's really frustrating. But in the chase here, it just seemed like finally we got through that bad luck string, and everything worked like it's supposed to. No curveballs, no change-ups, just business as usual. I mean, today was the first time I thought, oh man, when he said we got to come in, it's like I didn't question it. I didn't know what was going on because I never even felt the impact. I mean, normally you feel something if you hit something with the nose of the car, and to hit it with the wire mesh like that screen, it just kills that. And how it didn't go through the radiator, I have no idea. But to have something like that actually go our way for once, it was nice to finally get that bad luck streak out of the way, and get to where we could work on just doing what we do best. Man, I feel like I passed half the state of Florida. 118 cars is a lot of cars to pass in one race. I don't care what series you're in or where you're at, but to do it under the circumstances and the pressure that we had today, I'm very, very proud of that. And I've been racing 31 years. I can't even remember some of the races I've won, but I would have to say that under the circumstances, I got to believe this is definitely one of the greatest races of my life.
Tony, you drove today like you were not going to lose this race. You were either going to win this thing or you're leaving it all on the track. I'm wondering, over the last 5 years since your last championship, when you were not in a position to like this today or the last couple of weeks, was there ever a point where you thought, I may not get another shot at this, and then at the same time you thought, if I ever do, I am not going to leave anything on the track?
I think after the last 5 years, entire NASCAR nation thought they may not ever have a shot at another championship again. But I think the one thing that I was constantly reminded by the media was that we were the last guy to win one of these before Jimmy started that string. And you look at guys like Jeff and guys that have been successful in this series that hadn't won, and we had won a more recent one than those guys had. You can't discard it and say that you can't win it. It's just what do you got to do to get back on top? And I don't think anybody ever has that feeling. The day that you just say I can't do it anymore is the day you might as well just announce your retirement and find some young kid that is going to sit there and not have that attitude. So I don't think you ever entirely say I can't do this. It's just you wonder what do you have to do to get back in that position again. And these two guys beside me have been an extremely huge part of making that happen.
Okay, let's go over here to the far right. Marty Smith. Then we'll go to Kurt, and then Ryan.
I know you just, Marty Smith, ESPN, I know you just noted, congratulations, gentlemen, all of you, by the way. I know you just noted that this was one of the best performances of your career. Your hero said it was the best. What does it mean to you that someone you admire to that level considered this performance that stellar?
Yeah, it was, for those of you who don't know, when we were doing one of the ESPN interviews, they had a surprise phone call for us on the line, and it was A.J. Foyt. And to hear him say that was the best race he's ever seen me run is it brings a tear to your eye. I mean, not many people can have their lifelong hero say that and hear you say that. So just very, very flattering. The one thing out of the conversation I was surprised. Even when I drove Silver Crown cars for him and George Snyder, we'd win the race and he'd still tell me everything I did wrong during the race. And for once, he didn't tell me that I did anything wrong. So I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to top this now. I think my life's complete, and if I get hit on a golf cart, I'm good to go now. Because AJ said I did everything I could perfect for once. So it's an honor. That was probably one of the coolest phone calls I've ever had in my life, obviously. But it's just to go into a day like today when you know what's at stake, and it's not just. It's the head-to-head battle, obviously. It's one guy versus another, but there's still 41 other variables out there. And to have him leading the first half of the race and dominating it like he did, and to be able to battle back from that. And there was one option for us. I mean, it wasn't like he was going to make a mistake, lose a spot, and we still were going to win it if we stayed ahead of him. If he stayed second or third, we still had to win the race. So, to have a battle like that, I mean, you sit here and you shake your head going, how did we just do that? But at the same time, I'm sitting there wondering, he's probably going back to his best, taking a shower, going, what do I have to do to beat that guy? And I hope he does. I mean, it's one of the coolest championship battles, and I'll respect it and for the rest of my life. But I mean, you couldn't ask for a better guy, and I absolutely mentally tried to beat that kid up this week. I mean, I felt like I had to throw everything I had in my arsenal out to get this opportunity, and I felt like we won all the battles. Going into it, he's too nice to fight back. It was like picking on a kid. It's like you kind of felt bad, but at the same time, you're like, you still won, so count it as a win. But it's what he said when we were coming around with the flag sticking out of the car. He walked up and he said, just promise me one thing, that you're going to have fun with this. And I said, well, of all people, buddy, I can promise you aren't going to have to worry about that. I won't let you down. But he goes, I hope a year from now we're in this same battle again, just like this. And that everybody respects Carl for the person that he is. And there's been a lot of things that have happened that make you go, is there sincerity involved in what he says? And there's no cameras there when he said that. He just came and talked to me driver to driver, and that means a lot, and it shows who he is as a person, I think. So, I know there's times he hadn't done everything perfect, and he's taken it upon himself to settle scores, but I think deep down, moments like that, and at Texas when he came out there and we had that conversation, it shows who he really is as a person, and he will win a championship. He'll be up here in our position again, and you never want to be the guy on the losing end of it. But I mean, I hope that when he gets it, I hope he has to beat us to do it again. So I appreciate that battle that we had. It was a David versus Goliath battle to the end, and to have the week that we had and the sparring that we had at media day, and to come here and finish the season running first and second, I don't know how it gets better than that. No matter what the outcome was, I mean, there would have been no shame in finishing second to him tonight in the championship. But to have that battle come down, to me, that's epic.
Let's go over here far left, Kurt, and then we'll go to Ryan McGee. Go ahead.
Kurt Cavan, Indianapolis Star.
Great job. I'm glad you learned from yesterday. Well done.
I try to learn from you. You sounded so calm on the radio, reassuring your team, kind of a leader on the team. But who was reassuring you? Did you have some doubts at any point? Did you think maybe this is just not meant to be?
I think this summer has kind of been character building to a certain degree. The good thing is, I mean, I think the guys, when you're in the role that I am, I feel like that there's some added pressure there from my standpoint, even being in the car. I mean, Darian is the guy that they feed off of in the pits, obviously, because Darian's the guy that they read. But I think we've been a really good team from that aspect of. That was the first when we hung the lug nut today, and I thought that was one of the key moments in the race where you could lose your composure, and I think Darian's calling the audible of saying, hey, we're gonna make this a 2-tire stop now. I mean, that was huge. We didn't give up any more track position. We had a car that was fast, and that was big. And I pulled out on the stop, and I had no idea what happened. So that's probably the first time in the chase that I've raised my voice, and I'm like, what the heck just happened, And Darian's demeanor from day one when we started in 2009 is just, he's been calm, and he told me it hung a lug nut, but the way he says it was in a way that just like, all right, it is what it is. It's nothing to get excited about it. And when we had the restart that we had, it's like, hey, you looked at how the first 109 laps went before the rain delay came. It's like, so we hung a lug nut and we're back to 12th now. I think the way our season went and the way the first 100 laps of the race went, it was easy to put it in perspective that it wasn't as big a drama as what we thought. But I mean, Carl had a good pit stop, gained a bunch of spots, but that wasn't when they paid the points and dropped the flag. I mean, there was a lot of racing to go, and there's just, it goes back to nobody's ever quit in this team, and like I said, I think this season's been character building, and when something like that's happened, it's easy to kind of feel like you're backing yourself in a corner. But the way our day was, and to battle back from the back twice in those first 100 laps, I thought gave us the confidence that it wasn't the end of the world and that we could recover from it.
Let's go Ryan McGee right here, Ryan, and then we'll go to the press box.
Ryan McGee with ESPN Magazine. 2 questions. You had to make a tough decision, you said, when you let Bobby Hutchins go, parted ways with him. How much of a part did he have in where you are tonight? And the second question is, a lot of people making a comparison to Alan Kowicki, and you've been quick to correct them on that, haven't you?
Yeah, I'll address that first for sure. I mean, what Alan did, from my standpoint, you can't put me in that category with him. It's unfair to Alan. Alan built his organization from the ground up, and I was very fortunate that Gene had built a strong foundation for Darian and myself and Bobby Hutchins to come in, and we had great resources, great tools. It was a matter of changing some people around to make it all work, and you can't give me too much credit for that. I mean, I wasn't responsible for that. I was responsible for getting Darian and Bobby and Tony Gibson and Ryan, and Darian and Bobby and Tony Gibson were really the guys that said, this is what we need people-wise and personnel-wise, and so Gene gave me the faith and the trust to go get the people that I felt like that we needed to get, and a lot of that was Rick Hendrick too. I mean, Rick was the one that said, hey, this guy's the guy that I think is going to be a good fit for you, and that's the push in the right direction that you need from somebody like that to give you that confidence. But Bobby and Darian and Tony together, I think all three were very instrumental in orchestrating what personnel they needed to take the resources that Gene had already had established to make all of it work and make it all come together.
Let's go to the press box for a couple questions, then we'll come back downstairs to Holly Kane. Go
Jeff
press
from
box.
SBNation.com. Tony, you've obviously heaped praise on Darian, and deservedly so. But before you came in here, he had mentioned that it's under his impression that he's out of a job for next season. Can you at all shed some light on his status? I know it's kind of awkward with him sitting right there, but
I know what his status is for the rest of the night, and I'm going to get him drunk. So tomorrow, if we can just pick our heads up off the floor without throwing up, I'm going to be extremely happy. So we'll worry about that tomorrow.
But is there any chance that you guys could he would return, or can you say anything?
That what now?
Could he come back next year even though his status is unclear?
I mean, there's a lot of things in the off season and a lot of decisions that have to be made, and obviously we wanted to get through this championship battle first, and we'll sit down as a group obviously this week and figure out the direction of our program. But the good thing right now is that we're sitting up here as champions right now, and I don't think any of us are really too concerned about anything other than having fun tonight and enjoying the accomplishment we've had over the last 10 weeks.
Go ahead, press box.
Nate Ryan, USA Today. Tony, given that, does that put a different perspective on this championship run, that despite that uncertainty, and I would assume that created more duress? Darian talked about how it was maybe a little bit of a tension builder at times. I mean, can you kind of talk about how you guys were able to overcome that and still do everything and win the championship despite all that?
I think the way this whole chase has worked out for us to battle through a number of variables to get where we are is remarkable. But it shows the strength of the people that we have, and it definitely makes you go, how did we do this? How did we overcome a lot of variables to get where we are? But it, at the same time, makes it very gratifying because you are able to take a less than perfect scenario and have success with it. So I think we're all up here going to take a lot of pride in that.
Go ahead, press box.
No additional questions.
Okay, let's come back down to Holly Kane, and then we'll go to Joe Menzer.
Holly Kane, FoxSports.com. Tony, and you kind of spoke about this a little bit, but people that know you well have said, I've never seen him more determined. And we've seen you through various championships, but this one felt a little different in terms of almost being like Babe Ruth, pointing and this is what I'm going to do, and you did. Could you just talk about that approach? I mean, your determination in this one and the way it all played out, especially in the last, 2 or 3 weeks.
Boy, did I look like a genius after doing that. But, it's like I said, I mean, it's one thing for me to have confidence as a driver, but you have to have confidence in your guys and your equipment and the guys making the calls. And, I honestly think the turning point for us was Martinsville. I mean, we had struggled at Martinsville the 3 races before this fall, and to battle to stay on the lead lap, and once we stayed on the lead lap there, to battle back to the lead and to win the race with the drama that we won the race. I mean, I've yet to have anybody tell me who's passed for the lead on the outside to win a race at Martinsville. And to leave there saying we just did something pretty remarkable, that I feel like that was the turning point in this chase for us. And then we backed it up a week later with winning Texas, and not only winning Texas, but beating the guy that we're racing for the point championship with, leading the most laps, and really, making a statement that, hey, don't make the mistake of counting us out of this. And I think that was a huge turning point for us, and you get that confidence that everything is going right, and it's so much easier when things are going well. Everybody relaxes, everybody's calm. You're not trying to mentally figure out what the missing piece of the puzzle is, and I think Martinsville was kind of that step that we may not have had a perfect car that day, and we may not have had the perfect race, but we fought through it and came out on top. And to battle like that at Texas all day, it at that point, you sit there and you go, we got as good a shot, if not better, than anybody else out there, and it doesn't matter who's still left. We are a contender now, and that's the kind of confidence you want going into the last 2 weeks.
Let's go Joe Menzer, then we'll go to Bruce Martin, and then George Diaz.
Joe Menzer, NASCAR.com. Tony, this race seemed to sort of almost an epic feel to it from the beginning. Carl said it was like an unbelievable movie, the way it unfolded. Did you have any kind of feeling or sense of that in the seat of the car as the night was going on?
Gene says I got to watch the rerun, so
It's on at 1 a.m.
I'll be up. May not be able to focus on the screen, but I'll be up. It did. I mean, I don't know that it necessarily had that feel, but the storyline was pretty amazing. You got a guy that goes out and is leading the point standings, qualifies on the pole, and is dominating the first part of the race. The guy that's the underdog and the guy that's 3 points behind is having to jump hurdles and jump through hoops to, salvage their day. And then we come battle back. I mean, when we had that red flag at lap 109, I'm sitting out there and I'm just laughing with crew guys. I mean, there's crew guys going, "What are you doing? What's going on here?" And they're going, "Where are you coming from?" I'm like, "Where else am I going to go? I don't have anything else to do. If I crash this thing on the way to the front, so be it." And it wasn't that I was throwing caution to the wind. I mean, we were trying to be calculated and methodical about what we were doing, but the storylines are total opposites. I mean, you got a guy that's got the perfect race going. I mean, he's leading laps, and when he's not leading, he's second or third, and he's right where he wants to be in the position he needs to be in all day long at that point. And you got the other guy it's like, man, can we get there from here? You feel like you got the big fish on the hook, and you're running down a line. You're wondering if you're going to run out soon. But when you sit there, and when we took the lead the first time, I think it had to make him go, how did they, in the red flag, he's sitting there going, so what's going on with them? They've come back from the back twice and they're fifth now. He's thinking about that. And I sat there, I swear to God, I was sitting there, and Jack Roush and Doug Yates were sitting there talking, and I walked by Jack and I said, "You better tell your boy to get up on the wheel, because I'm on my way and I'm coming." And I was joking, I've screwed with everybody all week. Why am I going to stop now, So, and Jack looks at me like I got three heads all of a sudden, which I didn't know if it was because he couldn't see me or what was going on, but he kind of looked at me. I'm joking, come on. But Doug's sitting there laughing at me because he knows what I'm doing, and Jack looks at me kind of funny and went about my business and got back in the car, and I'm just laughing about it, and like, we still got nothing to lose, and we just keep slinging it at him. And when you take the lead, he got to be sitting here, he's sitting there going, how in the heck did they just do that? I mean, they've been tore up twice, coming to them back twice. How did they get there? So, storyline was pretty cool, I thought, up to that point.
We'll go Bruce, George, and then David Newton.
Bruce Martin, SportsIllustrated.com. This is a little bit of a provincial question in that this is big news back in your home state.
You got to use small words. I have no idea what kind of question that means.
It means back in your home state. This is really big news. You win another championship. When you were a kid coming up, everybody wanted to be the next A.J. Foyt. Now these guys in the grassroots level in that state want to grow up and be the next Tony Stewart.
They should set their standards much higher than that.
But just talk a little bit about bringing this title back to your home state.
I'm proud of where I came from. I mean, my career path made a pretty drastic turn, and I don't know how many people actually know. I mean, I had a chance to drive for AJ when the IRL started, and I had been working on a deal with Harry Ranier to join the Busch Series at the time, and was really close to having that done, and my intention was to do that. And then all of a sudden the opportunity came to drive for AJ in the IRL, and the IRL only had 5 races, so I'm like, I had every intention of doing both. I was used to running sprint cars, Silver Crown cars, midgets all on the same night, and I didn't see why I couldn't run 5 IndyCar races and run the limited schedule that Ranier's wanted. And AJ kind of put the kibosh to that. He wanted me to either be an IndyCar driver or be a NASCAR driver, and that was a pretty hard decision to make. And to tell your hero that you're going to turn down an opportunity to drive his race car to go do something else. But I had worked with the Rainier family long enough. I didn't want to let them down, and I didn't necessarily want to turn down that opportunity. And but I had to make a decision in my career of not knowing what was going to happen with the IRL and the stability of NASCAR at the time. And you'd think it would be some big scientific reason, but the biggest factor that made me say, okay, I'm going to go the NASCAR route was I got to race 33 races a year versus 11 and didn't have to worry about what was going to happen. So, from where I grew up and my heritage and running home from school the 1st of May to watch practice, that was a big deal to me. But, I chose a different career path, and, we've had success with it, and I'm proud. I mean, we've had a pretty big shock this year in Indiana with the Colts of having Peyton Manning on the sideline, and trust me, I feel like I've been kicked by a mule because of it. But the guy beside me's had some pretty big Peyton Manning moments, and I take a lot of pride in the fact that we're going to be bringing a trophy back home.
What's it going to be like?
Well, I already know that Bob Franke at the Dairy Queen's already been giving ice cream away tonight, and he will tell me to the penny exactly how much money he lost doing it. I mean, literally to the cent, he'll tell me how much money it cost him. But, I live in a town of 35,000 people, and I still got the same friends that I had growing up. And, when I go home, people let me just be me. They see me in a restaurant, they'll come by and say hi. And, I've been back home long enough now. I think the news wore off, and I'm just another person. But, it's a sense of pride that when the people in your community come up and say they're proud of you and you did a good job, that means a lot. And I'm excited about the day I get to go home now.
Let's go over here to George Diaz, then we'll go David Newton, and then to Jerry Jordan. Go ahead, George.
Tony, to your left over here. George Diaz with the Orlando Sentinel. You obviously had a lot of fun poking Carl and whatnot this week, but
I don't poke Carl. I made that real clear. I like women, so I'll not be poking Carl. So.
Okay, I'll try to
Carl
rephrase.
A lot,
All right, I'll try to rephrase the question.
I just really, really want to make sure nobody gets the wrong idea about that. So.
That'll be an interesting transcript. But anyway, regardless, was there ever a moment where in your head, there was just a slight bit of doubt or nervousness or whatever it might be that kind of creeped into your head during this whole run leading up to it?
Oddly enough, I mean, there should have been a moment like that, and I can't. That's been the one thing that's probably been the one variable in the equation that I haven't been able to understand and get my hands around, is that there just never was that moment of feeling despair and like, can we really do this? It's like we were in the perfect scenario of coming into this weekend with no possible shot of losing anything. Contrary to what my favorite guy mentioned on media day, we honestly just did not. That we physically couldn't lose anything. There was nothing to lose, and there was everything to gain. And with that, it takes so much pressure off when you know that if anything happens, that you're not going to be any worse than second. And considering the fact that 10 weeks ago we were saying that we were wasting a spot in the chase to begin with, second wasn't so bad if that's what happened. But at the same time, I mean, you don't have to dangle a carrot in front of us to get our spurs jingling and get us excited about what we can get and what we can reach. So, I mean, I meant what I said in media day, that it's a dangerous combination when you give a guy a shot at something and he can't lose anything. I mean, that's a potent situation to be in for our organization and our team and myself. So. With that, I honestly can't say that there was that moment where I felt that way. I guess it was the perfect scenario. I really wanted to leave Homestead, honestly. I wanted to leave Homestead with the point lead. I thought that would really be the best opportunity to rattle his confidence. But in hindsight, we came here and there was never a moment where I was wound up. I mean, I was up at 2:30 in the morning this morning, couldn't sleep, and I was watching every stupid movie you can think of on TV because I was having fun. And and I couldn't explain it. I don't understand it, but that's where we were at with it. It felt natural. There was something that felt right with it, and I never had that moment where I felt like we couldn't do this or that something could go wrong. If it did, it did. But we had more to gain than we had to lose.
Let's go over here to David Newton and then
I
to
can't
Jerry.
shut up tonight either. I'm ready to get out of here. Somebody stop me.
Hey, Tony, David Newton, ESPN.com, way over here. Darian was talking earlier, and he's been telling us for a while he's felt like the cars have been good most of the season. He mentioned the Atlanta race where you came from like 20th to 3rd, and we're talking about all the great changes they'd made, and they didn't tell you till afterwards there were no changes made at all. Has this turnaround
You
is
didn't
like
change anything? You liar.
has this turnaround has been as more about you maybe recapturing something you'd lost, a confidence more so than the cars and that?
I mean, I don't know. I've been deceived here by my crew chief. I had no idea that that's what was going on in Atlanta. But I don't know. I've been doing this a long time. I mean, I never felt like I really lost anything. I mean, when we won that World Outlaw race earlier in this year, I know it has nothing to do, it's totally separate from anything that we're talking about here, but, that crossed a big check mark off of my bucket list, and I think that was a really big moment for me, getting to accomplish a goal that I'd never accomplished before. And I think it reminded me that, I still can, it doesn't matter what we drive, I can still drive cars and win races, and I'm not just stuck doing it here and, not just able to win here and nowhere else. So, maybe it sparked something in, I don't know, but I never felt like anything really changed from that standpoint. I just, I had a lot of fun this year. I mean, Darian and Gene have let me go off racing any night I wanted to race, and I got to run 30 nights this year away from NASCAR races on dirt and had a blast doing it. And I think that was, as much as it scares Eddie Jarvis and Brett Fruit and our management of worrying about me getting hurt and how many people it can affect, Darian can tell you, I mean, when I would come back, it just was like it energized me. It was like hitting a reset button, and it was fun. I had fun racing again this year, and I think it transferred to what we were doing with the Cup car too. That we'd have fun Saturday night and Sunday, even if it wasn't right or it didn't work out, I still had fun doing what I was doing again, and I think that made a big difference. So I don't know if I really thought about it a bunch, but maybe it did.
Let's go, Jerry.
Tony, Jerry Jordan with the Examiner, Kicking the Tires. You've talked before about the history of NASCAR, and tonight you've made that history. What do you want the history books to say about you and your season as you look forward for that?
They can write whatever they want. The biggest thing to me is we got the trophy, and I think the biggest thing is it's not about what they write about me, it's what they write about us. I mean, I really appreciate the opportunity that Gene and Joe Custer have given us, and I appreciate what Darian has done from day one. I mean, he played more than a crew chief role, and there were a lot of really good people that have had to work outside of the box of what their job description was to get us here, and I think that's what makes great teams great. Is people don't just sit there and look at their job as a 9-to-5 job or whatever their hours are, and they show up then and they leave when that hour gets there. And I know there's times when he's had to come in and stay late, and there's people that have made that sacrifice. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think anybody's complained about it. We just got a bunch of racers, and I'll probably take the most pride in that. We got people that have come from so many different racing backgrounds, and their attitudes at the shop were just a bunch of racers that love racing and winning races, and I'm really proud of that.
Dave Rodman, you have a question? Raise your hand. Go Dave, Jenna, Bob.
Yeah, Tony, Dave Rodman, NASCAR.com. The other day we talked about bookending Levi Jones' USAC championship with this one. Now that you've achieved it, what do you feel like it means to your organizations?
I'm pretty proud. I mean, Donnie Schatz won the last sprint car race of the season last night, an ASCS race at Tucson, and Levi won the championship in the last race of the year with our Chevy car. And to be able to come here tonight and do this, it's Levi won the Silver Crown Championship, the Sprint Car Championship. We ran second with Donnie Schatz and third with Steve Kinsen World Outlaws, and then I don't know where Ryan officially ended up tonight points wise, but
Who's that?
Ryan, 10th.
10th.
So
yeah.
two cars in the top 10 in the Sprint
excellent.
Cup Series. I'm pretty proud of that. it's probably as close to being a father as I'm going to get for a while, it appears, and I'm pretty proud of all my kids, even though one of them's 50 years old and still winning races. So I'm proud of our people. I mean, I feel like that I've said it from day one that I've been a part of this organization. I learned a lot from Joe Gibbs and how he was able to assemble the right people to do the right jobs. I feel like I learned a very valuable lesson from him, and I think that I've been able to take that approach with every entity that we have, and we've been successful. And I'm proud of Chevy being on board, and Bass Pro Shops, and STP, and Armor All, and all the people that have believed in the programs that I've wanted to build and have helped us make them successful.
Let's go Jenna and then Bob Pockris.
Tony, why would you leave Joe Gibbs Racing when you did? You were comfortable there, you could win there, you didn't have to have any real responsibilities and take all this on. And what kind of pressure?
Joe would tell you different. He told me I had all kinds of responsibilities.
But what kind of pressure then do you take with you? Do you wonder, am I ever going to win again? You're leaving a really comfortable, nice place.
I think the variable that was kind of the little bit of the push over the top that I needed, it came from Rick Hendrick. And Rick had a relationship with Gene and the two teams working together in the past. And, when Rick called me and said, hey, this may be an opportunity for you, and where I was at in my life and my career, and, I guess I've never been scared to step outside my comfort zone with opportunities. I mean, we own 3 racetracks now. We have our World Outlaw teams, our USAC teams. I didn't really have a background in any of that. I don't have a background in business, but it just seemed like every challenge that we took, we were able to somewhat find some sort of success with it. And Rick talked to me on the phone one night, and he goes, "I'm not going to let this fail." And that's words that I've never forgot. And there's been times when I've had to call and say, hey, I don't know what to do. I'm kind of stuck. I need your input. I just need somebody to tell me if what I'm thinking is right, wrong, and different. And he's been really strong in that role with me. So, you got to have people you believe in. You got to have people you trust. And it's just another chapter in my life that it's like, this is a great opportunity for what's going on now and for what can happen down the road one day. I mean, there's a day that I'm not going to be driving, but I don't want to leave the sport. So, it's a great opportunity for me to drive till Gene fires me from the driver's seat, and then I get to sit on the pit box with him. So, I like that opportunity. It was an opportunity to have a fresh start, a fresh beginning, and a new challenge. And I love new challenges for some reason.
Bob?
Bob Pockris, Scene Daily. In that same vein, did you ever regret the decision to become a co-owner? And what do you feel this championship can do for your organization as a whole?
I'd be lying if I said there were a lot of nights I laid my head on a pillow and I said, "Have you lost your mind?" It was a lot easier being a driver, and there was a lot of responsibility that came with being a driver in a big organization. But there's a lot of worries. I mean, it's still a business. I mean, this is a big industry, and it's my goal from day one has been to be able to look Gene Haas in the eyes and shake his hand and say, hey, it didn't cost you a dime this year to go race, and I want you to come to the track and just have fun and enjoy what you've built. And our economy's been rough the last 3 years, and it's been a challenge to do that. But I'm proud with the new partners that we've had come on board. We're in the best financial situation our company's ever been in, and there's still inventory of races to be sold in our company, and hopefully an effort like what we've had in the Chase and a championship like this hopefully can be a push that some of these companies need to maybe come on board. So this is big for our company as an organization. It's a hard time with the economy, and definitely a championship like this is huge.
Anything else? We'll end it with Dwight.
Dwight Drum, RaceState.com. As far as you're being compared to the greatest drivers ever, like your hero and David Pearson, could you kind of share with us what you feel you have, physical and mental abilities that you share with the greatest people that ever got behind the wheel?
All you got to do is look at me, and it's not hard to figure out how I compare to A.J. Foyt and how that's following that same path. I'm not Mr. Olympia by any means. I'm proof that you can be a little bit out of shape, but you can be race fit, and you don't have to lift weights to do it. I'm pretty proud to sit there for people that aren't perfect and don't sit there in the gym and don't eat the right foods every day and can still go out and do what they do. Take some pride in that today, but I'm going to take a lot of pride in a lot of stuff. So, but you know, I'm nothing. Yeah, I represent you. So you guys, not just you, Jenna. Sorry, you guys. So, and some of you more than others, obviously. But I have a hard time putting it in perspective what it means with these guys and the greats of this sport and the legends of this sport. It's you feel like you're comparing apples to oranges because you're comparing different eras in our sport, and it's hard to put that in perspective, I think. But you know, I feel like I'm a part of a time in NASCAR when the competition's better than it's ever been. It's more competitive than it's ever been, and to be in a format that's very tight, very competitive, and you can't have anything go wrong, to win 5 races out of a 10-race chase, and to win the closest battle in NASCAR history. You know, no matter what the record books say at the end of the day, and the greats that are a part of it, it's a huge honor just to be in those record books with those guys. And you never feel like I don't care how many races you win, how many championships you win, you never feel like you measure up to the greats of the sport. But you know, that's what makes trying so much fun.
Well, Tony, you certainly put on one outstanding performance the past 10 weeks. You're the 2011 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion. Much deserved. Congratulations on truly a terrific performance here tonight that I think not only the folks in this room, but millions across the world are going to look back and say that this was one of the greats in all of sports. Congratulations. And I do have one final question for you.
Why do I feel like I should really be nervous? And I felt like I've skirted around I've played dodgeball for an hour up here, and I thought I was going to make it out of here okay.
By winning this race tonight, Tony is going to take home a contender boat that is built right here in Homestead, Florida. And that boat is right out here in Victory Lane. It's got 400 horsepower. It's worth a lot of money. He's going to go out there in Victory Lane here in a minute and get some photographs with that boat. But my question is to you. Do you have any idea what you're going to name your boat?
I just hope I don't get so screwed up tonight that I find the keys on accident and try riding it around in the lake on the backstretch. So maybe we'll call it Hope We Don't Screw Up.
We can do that. Congratulations again, guys.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.